Good now. Yeah, we're live. We are only, I just said how many days away. We are less than 26 hours, about 25 hours from the start of the 2026 NFL draft. And the Raiders, of course, will be on the clock. But, that's not really what the intrigue is. It seems like we know it's going to be Mendoza. We do know it's going to be Fernando Mendoza selected first overall. What the real intrigue is what exactly the Jets are doing. And it seemed like it was going to be Arvell Reese for a while. Now it seems like it's actually going to be David Bailey. I'm going to go grab my iPad so I can follow you guys. But, yeah, Arvell Reese, I guess 3 now to the Cardinals. I think David Bailey was the guy getting mocked there when we said it was going to be David Bailey or Arvell Reese going second. Jeremiah Love at 4 definitely seems like a lock. Would be pretty shocked if Jeremiah Love's not the pick at 4 for the Titans. 5, we have the New York Football Giants selecting Sonny Styles, I think. I might try to get somebody else to come on here. Because we're going to be live with somebody else all weekend. And I kind of have to iron out some of the finer points of how that's even going to work. And I really have no friggin' clue, to be completely honest, how I'm going to get that to happen. Anyways, I promise we'll get film up here in a second. I tried to get home 15 minutes early so we could be doing this off screen, but I told you guys I'd start at 7. I wanted to start at 7. You guys feel free to let me know what you're thinking about. Anything you guys want to talk about. Definitely draft related. We got to focus on the draft right here, man. I'd love to talk about the college depth charts. We can actually do that if you want spring ball, but would definitely prefer to focus on the NFL draft right now. Yeah, any questions, comments, concerns, anything you guys want to talk about? My guy Kenny, shout out Kenny 49ers. I'm only saying this because you're on here, but I do think it's actually true. I think you're my top subscriber right now. Every live you commented on the most videos. I appreciate it, man. No, I didn't see anything about George Pickens and the 20th pick for the Titans' 4th overall pick. Didn't see anything about that. Not caught up in the NFL rumor mill. So, I don't know who we're gonna watch. I might try to focus on the draft instead of like film. I don't think we've talked anything about the actual draft happening and any of the draft picks. I think we can talk about that tomorrow. I'm going to start going live at 6, so 2 hours before the draft starts, and we can kind of get that done. We can kind of keep it about the players right now. We did Josiah Trotter yesterday. Had a lot of fun watching him. We got 6 people on here right now, so if you guys have anybody you want to watch or talk about, we talked about Aller Nussmeier yesterday. We have a lot of film up of guys. We have a lot of film that we collected throughout the entire this entire draft process. So if you guys want to go back and watch some of that stuff, like I upload all the videos with it, of course, but it's sometimes fun to go back and watch, and you guys can kind of give your own 2 cents. But we kind of did the mock draft yesterday, and it'll be an interesting draft. I think there's some intrigue in the top 5. I guess not really. Mendoza's a lock to go first. Wimmerek says who's rising up boards. Dude, this is the craziest. There's a quarterback that I've seen. There is a quarterback that somebody said is going to go in the first round that nobody, if I gave you guys 5 guesses to guess what quarterback it was, let me pull up the tweet because it was an actual, like an NFL guy. It's not like some slapdick on Twitter that I'm talking about right now. You guys will not believe who this guy said might be a first round pick or a second round pick. That's what he said. If you guys know it, you can shout it out. It was Tom Pelissero says that this quarterback is expected to go in round 1, could sneak into round 2. I don't know if that's exactly what he said, but I'm trying to pull it up here. You guys gonna guess? I don't have any film up on him, so you know what? Why don't we do that? Maybe that'll be how we reveal it. Is I'll just actually pull up his film right now. No, it wasn't Cole Payton. If it was Cole Payton, I would be less all up in arms about it. It was not Cole Payton. It's a good guess though. Yeah, it was Carson Beck. Big Boom AJ. Tom Pelissero had this piece about Carson Beck. And I actually didn't watch him, so I shouldn't really have that. I didn't watch his film back and try to do a video on him, so I'm not sure that I really should have an opinion, that opinionated on him, but watching the Miami games live, I just didn't look like an NFL quarterback to me. I think he deserves a chance. Now in the first round kind of seems crazy. But we can, since it's relevant, we can watch the national championship and actually pay attention to Carson Beck if you guys want. Because I think that's crazy, but I kind of want to have film tomorrow if it does happen. I think there's a snowball chance in hell that he goes in the first round. I'd be pretty shocked. Dude, if that happens, don't quote me on this. I'm going to delete my goddamn channel at that point because I don't know anything about anything. Here's the thing. This is why you have to be very careful with when people start talking about Carson Beck being a first rounder. It's because they say that kind of crap because then I just brought up Tom Pelissero's name. That's just kind of giving these guys, that's just kind of giving these guys what they want. A lot of these media guys, even the analysts, they try to go for the clickbait. I don't think he's a first round pick. That's my 2 cents. But I'll pull up the national championship game, and yeah, like Wimerick said, tons of NFL guys on both sides of the ball, so you guys can pay attention who you want. I'm not gonna talk myself into Carson Beck being a first rounder. I think that would need a little crack or need a little alcohol in my system to do that, and I don't even think alcohol would do it. And I'm not trying to hate on him, but I just don't think he's an NFL quarterback. All right, you guys feel free if you guys want to go back on any specific plays, and you guys can talk about any player. Of course, Miami, Indiana. There's tons of guys that are going to be in the NFL in this game. I'll give you my 2 cents on Carson Beck, without actually watching film, just watching the games live. I think he has a great pre-snap approach. I think that's really why Miami was so good last season, was because he knows where the football is going if that first read's there. He's very decisive on that first read. I'm just not sure he has an NFL arm. I don't think his arm's that good. He throws with some good touch. I think he does a good job kind of switching up some of the speeds. I don't think his arm's all that strong. He's really not a good athlete. He's not going to do much with his legs. And I also think the decision-making kind of falls off a cliff when that first read's not there. I think he got into a lot of trouble scanning the whole field. When he kind of had to work off of that first guy, I think he kind of made some bad decisions throughout the 2025 season. So I think there's a difference between processing and pre-snap approach. I think Carson Beck has one of the best pre-snap approaches in the country. Now, when that pre-snap approach isn't there, I think he kind of post-snap makes some bad decisions there. That was my read watching him live. Maybe we'll see something different now, but and this sounds stupid, but got to try to be positive towards him. A lot of these really real quick, just get the ball out into your playmaker's hands. He's pretty accurate throughout the season, putting this high and tight so Malachi Tony can start to get upfield. I just looked at the stats today, actually. I mean, Malachi Tony almost had 850 yards after the catch, if I remember right, last season, which is crazy. Not because of Carson Beck, Malachi Tony deserves credit for that, but he's good in those like little things, like leading him upfield, something real small, but try to be fair to him. Well, I told one of my friends who's I think the Jets were one team that I kind of saw connected like with Carson Beck for a little bit. If they drafted Carson Beck, I think it would be to just completely tank in 2026, so they have the first pick in 2027. Answering 404 about Keontae Scott. I don't know where he's getting mocked. Like, I don't think we'll see him day one. That's for sure. I think me personally, I think he's a second round pick. Talking about Keontae Scott. Um, it's just kind of like the position that he plays. It's kind of tough to go in the first round, and I think I like Jalen Kilgore a little bit better than him. I think that's the guy that has a chance to go in the first round. We're talking about like a nickelback. I love Keontae Scott though, man. Like just watching Miami the entire season, especially in that SMU game, he was like one of those guys that was kind of hard to miss. This is kind of what I'm talking about with Carson Beck. It's just one play, but this is kind of what I was saying before. Like the pre-snap approach is pretty good, really good. It's not there. He does a great job working to the other side, and then he just starts testing windows that he doesn't have the arm to throw into. This is like what it is with Carson Beck to me because I'm fine overdrafting a guy without those like rare physical traits or athletic talent. If he's just like a great processor, if he's just doesn't make any mistakes or whatever, but we're gonna see this a couple more times, I think, by the time we're done. What do you guys think about this one? I'm trying not to just make this King Cold's evaluation. This should be a community evaluation. So we might be watching a first round quarterback right now. Let's go through it one more time. I don't hate the decision. I think it was a bad ball, though. That's my thought on that. I think this one had a chance if he was a bit more accurate, but he's obviously trying to take something off of that. Dude, how crazy would you guys go if they're like announcing the? Yeah, it was definitely a gutsy throw. If they're announcing the Raiders pick and it's Carson Beck. If he goes first overall, I'd probably delete my channel. Just like imagine for a second. I know it sounds crazy, but he had a pretty nice move before getting around in the pocket. Like obviously, the athleticism's a minus for him, but he looked pretty good moving around before. But now, what if the Jets were pissed? What if the Jets were pissed because that was their pick at second? That was their second pick. That's who they were taking at too, and they're like, "Fuck." I was talking to my friend who's a Giants fan. Like Carson Beck's like a David Gettleman pick. I don't know why. Just screams David Gettleman to me in the first round. Like I'm not trying to be disrespectful to him as a player because he does have a lot of good things. He's going to get drafted. I just think first round's too early for him. I think it's just classic, like them trying to milk the draft for all the clicks that they can. Or Carson Beck's agent paid Tom Pelissero like a lot of money to just kind of make up shit. Great college quarterback though, like being fair to him. The Jets took Drew Aller, this one guy that's in my comments would die of happiness because he keeps talking about him being the best quarterback in the class. We've talked about Drew Aller a lot though, so I'm not going to get into it until he's drafted, probably Friday or Saturday. You guys got anybody that you think's like underrated that everybody's sleeping on, maybe even me? The nice piece of running by Fletcher right there. Are you talking about Eric Gentry, the USC linebacker? The USC small forward? He's got one of the strangest builds I think I've ever seen. You know, maybe we'll watch him because he's like one of those like interesting ass players. I actually think we can pull up the Vincent Anthony film because I already have him cut up and we can talk about him for a little bit. I think he's a fine athlete. His issue is like, to be frank, he doesn't look like he knows his head from his ass. Like, I think in that video I said if he would have had a pass rush plan last season, he would have had 12 sacks and he'd be a first rounder. I actually kind of stick by that. But he's actually a guy I remember watching as a freshman when he was at Duke. And when you watch Vincent Anthony as a freshman, you're like, wow, if this guy just kind of puts it all together, you know, he could be a really good NFL player, like first round upside. And you just kind of watch him now. It's a lot of the same stuff that he was doing as a freshman. I'll turn on the actual film so I can try to like back up what I'm saying, but I just don't think his whole approach needs a reworking. I've seen this play a lot on social media. I get a lot of Miami tweets, and the tight end Bauman had a pretty rough game. He dropped a bigger pass, I think, at the end of the game. I think this is just a really good play from D'Angelo Pons. Like, it looks like a hospital ball, but like, this is a real good job by number 5 getting over. It's a good play by Pons. I think this is a fine decision from Carson Beck. Maybe want a bit more on this, a bit more velocity to get it there, but I don't know. I think that's nitpicking. I think that was just a great play by the cornerback. Gentry, like, he might have the most interesting build in this entire class. I'd say either him or Bernard. You are Bernard. Dude, you know what really pisses me off? Like, this is the stuff that pisses me off, and I'm not really pissed off. I'm glad the video did so well. But You Are Bernard is my most watched draft video this entire draft. Like, I think that one has 3,000 views. That's the most by, like, a healthy margin. This dude didn't even play a down of football. Like, if you watch the video, it's literally him pass rushing on trees in his backyard. That's my most watched video. Go figure. Now, I get why, though. Like, he's, like, one of the most interesting players, I think, that we'll ever watch. But Gentry's got a weird-ass build, too. He looks more like a basketball player. Like, dude, maybe I'll get a You Are Bernard jersey if whatever team drafts him or signs him as an undrafted free agent. That'd be a pretty fun tradition. Like, whichever guy has the most views before the draft, like, I have to buy his jersey, and then we could just have him like hanging up. I might have to get the You Are Bernard one from like China though. I'm not even sure if the NFL team shop would sell it. Or like You Are Bernard's like high school basketball jersey because he'd even play football. I was talking to somebody in the comment section about that though. Like, what if Ohio State found You Are Bernard as an 18-year-old and just like, you know, just spent 3 seasons teaching him football? Like, he would have been a friggin' good college football player. I really do believe that. If he would have had a couple seasons playing, like, obviously he's a freak athlete. NFL is a different story, but you're telling me like he wouldn't be like all Sun Belt or all Conference USA or something? If he would have had a couple seasons playing, I'm not saying he could just walk in and do it. Like, another thing I worry about with Carson Beck, and this isn't like really his fault, he just had so much time to throw at Miami. Like, it's kind of crazy how good he was last season, or the way that him not being a great athlete like barely even mattered for Miami last season because of how friggin' good their offensive line was, but he gets like 6 seconds to throw every time. And you know, that's not a negative, that's not something to hold against him, but it might like make the athleticism not look like as big of a deal as it actually is. Like, look at this. Oh my god, I said 6 seconds. This might have been 10 seconds. How about Indiana secondary though? Like, nobody's open here. And this is kind of the thing with Carson Beck then, like, you can't take off. There's a lane right in front of him right here. If he would run this to the left of his center, I mean, that's a gain for most quarterbacks. He's just got to throw it into double coverage then. I don't know. And I know we all talk about the processing and how smart of a quarterback he is, which is true. I think he sees the field very well. It's just like some of these decisions. Now, this almost was a catch, but I just don't think this is worth the risk here. Let me check how much time was left. This is 1st and 10. An interception basically loses the game being down by 10 here. I don't think we need to take this risk. Maybe it's just another great play by D'Angelo Ponds because it's kind of similar to that other one when he kind of came back to the tight end before, where it looks like he's gearing down and he's kind of flat-footed and then he can just kind of explode back to his outside. Man, that was a fucking great play by Ponds. I just don't think this is just not worth the risk from Carson Beck, in my opinion. Like, he doesn't have that arm. Like, off platform here. I mean, that almost lost him the game. That would have lost him the game if it was an interception. There's time for those kind of risks, no doubt, but I don't think that was it. What is Ponds even getting mocked right now? I don't even know like what the expectation is. He'd be a first rounder if he was a couple inches taller, but obviously, what is he 5'9"? It's pretty difficult. Oh, dude, if any of you guys remember Rashard Fant from like 10 years ago now, I'd be very shocked. But they had a I don't want to call him a similar player. He was a cornerback at Indiana, but I think he was even shorter than D'Angelo Ponds. But kind of similar mentality, like just like dogs. Yeah, I think I see like late second too. Film Watchers thinks he's a Seahawk. Do you guys watch that kid? The Film Watchers guy? Because I have a hot take about him, and I'm not trying to. I like his actual play breakdowns and when he's talking about schemes, but I don't really think his draft takes are that good. He's a young guy, he's still learning, but when you kind of hear him talk about personnel and players, do you guys know who I'm talking about? I'll shut up if you don't know who I'm talking about. Film Watchers and he's on Instagram and YouTube and all that. And he's got a lot of clout, man. He's like a lot more. He's like made it as a creator. So I'm not trying to. I think if you saw his face and you heard him talk, you'd recognize him. No, like dude, the way he talks about like actual schemes, like it's kind of hard to believe But when he starts talking about the players in the schemes, it's just like some of his draft takes I don't really agree with, which is fine, but so we all know the situation here. We got about a minute left, 2nd and 10. Miami needs a touchdown to win the national championship here. So, this is kind of, you make this up right in your head. This is like definitely the game on the line. Not the game, the entire season, the national championship on the line right now. Yeah, and I've seen this throw over analyzed a whole lot. And I saw somebody defend this throw right here. There are very few quarterbacks in the country that have the arm to make this throw right here. I don't think Fernando Mendoza can make this throw. This has to get there with a lot of velocity. Carson Beck just doesn't have the arm to make this throw, I don't think. Well, he definitely doesn't. That's got to be whipped in there. And that just cost him the entire season. That's why I'm kind of over analyzing it. But like kind of going back to the down and distance here, it's 1st and 10 situation with I think 51 seconds. I can't tell if that's a play clock or not. I'll tell you this: if Carson Beck if he had the arm to make that throw, we might be talking about him as a first rounder. But that was Carson Beck. Let's pull up Vincent Anthony because I haven't talked about him in a while. And there's going to be guys that get drafted tomorrow that haven't watched since January, which I'm kind of worried about, but that's fine. Yeah, Wemmerick, you might like that dude Film Watchers. Like he's good. He makes good stuff. The draft stuff, in my opinion, still learning. Man, watch. You guys can see my pointer, right? I didn't realize that. Watch Vincent Anthony's call it ankle flexion. Look at how his ankles bend right here. That's disgusting. Look at that. Oh my god, man. Dude, I'm telling you, when I pick these clips out, I put the good ones first, and I really shouldn't do that because you guys saw what we did with Aller yesterday. It's like when I watch all the good ones back to back, I'm like, why is this guy not a first rounder? We'll talk about it in a little bit. If you guys want a 2028 quarterback, like if you want to ask me who has the best odds to go first overall in 2028 right now, it's the Cal quarterback, Jaron K. Now, it's a ways off. A lot of football has to get played before 2028, but he's probably the guy that, if I had to bet right now, that's who I'd put money on. I don't think he actually will, but that class is all true freshmen. Yeah, JKS did the Julian saying where you enroll out of school and then never actually play it down for them. It's kind of crazy the amount of people that didn't realize that Julian saying actually was enrolled at Alabama. And Jaron was at Oregon. I don't know. I think like a week. I don't even know if it was that long. Yeah, so I think it's kind of hard for you guys to just watch these bad plays that I picked out and really appreciate like what the problem with Vincent Anthony Jr. is, because I'm telling you, like, these plays on their own, every single edge rusher, David Bailey has them on his film. Myles Garrett, for example, had him at Texas A&M. Like, you're not going to win every single pass rush rep, of course, but with Vincent Anthony, it just happens way too often. It's just shit like this where there's like, I don't want to say it's like low effort, but he just kind of sticks on one move. There's no like chain. It's just Vincent Anthony pre-snap knows what move he's going to do. He either wins with it or he doesn't win the rep. And that's where the rep ends. So I think you could call it instincts. Like I think the instinctual edge rushers, the guys that like know what they're doing, they have an idea of how they're going to get after the quarterback pre-snap. Like they think, I'm going to try to go to the outside. I'm going to try to beat him with speed to the edge. But if I see him overset to his outside, I got to get back to the inside. I think they have an idea pre-snap, but then they can make adjustments on the fly as they're getting after the quarterback. This is not one of those players, because it's one move, and if that move doesn't land, the rep's over. And it's fixable, I'm not trying to say it's not, but I'd love picking him in the second round though. I actually think I've seen people mock him in the fourth round. If I had to bet one guy that wasn't gonna fall to day 3, that some people are saying will, this is like one of those guys because he just has like he has all the stuff to get people too excited about him, myself included. Like I think there's one thing when we talk about a guy not having a pass rush plan, it's a bit more than that to me. I think he's a bit further off than some of those other guys we talk about, like having to get a better approach as a pass rusher. That's what I got from the film. All right. Anybody else we want to watch? What do you guys think about Vincent Anthony Jr.? Dude, like I love like somebody's gonna fall in love with him, but just being realistic about his chances. It's a lot to like, that's for sure. That's for sure. You know who I want to watch? If you guys don't mind watching an offensive lineman, is Blake Miller. This was the last offensive lineman I try to get up on my channel before the draft, and I don't know if I have time tomorrow. I might try to do it before the draft, but I still got to get Trotter up. I kind of had a curveball thrown at me today, so I wasn't able to get him. I had to kind of prioritize other stuff. Nothing's. Yeah, I haven't heard a lot of bad things about Blake Miller, so should be a pretty easy guy to like. kind of a weird tackle class, I think. It's like all over the place. Like, I think when we started this draft cycle, it kind of seemed like it was going to be an awesome tackle class, and I feel like a lot of these guys kind of fell off. Besides Maui Noah, that's the only guy that kind of stayed, but I think Fano kind of isn't getting talked about as much. Lomu, couple late risers, Monroe Freeling, I like Iheanacho a lot. I feel good about him, the Arizona State tackle. But Wimerick, I can tell you why Romello Height isn't higher on draft boards is because he's like 25, 26. He'd probably be a day 2 lock if he was a bit younger. But you're drafting an old man. He's a great player, though. All right, I'm just going to do some research to see which Blake Miller game we want to watch. I kind of want to watch him against Dylan Stewart. Yeah, dude, Freeling. I don't know what's going on with Freeling's legs. I think he was hurt last season, and maybe I'm overreacting to it, but he just like trips over himself. All right, we're gonna watch Blake Miller against South Carolina first. He finished with a good pass blocking grade according to PFF, but to actually watch the film. I think not liking his stance is reasonable if you think he has some flexibility issues and will never be able to bend the right way. If you think it's just a coaching thing, I mean, you can do what you want. I'm just giving you my 2 cents. If we think he can actually get coached and kind of fix some of the finer points, that's a different story. I'll give you my 2 cents after we watch him. But this will be a good game. So we're watching Blake Miller right now, number 78, the right tackle. Let's make sure we get this pulled up. First round expectation for sure. I don't think I've seen him mocked outside of the first round in some time. We're going to get started with the South Carolina game. Number 6 is Dylan Stewart, top 5 pick in 2027 probably. It'd be a pretty cool matchup to watch. Going off on a tangent, Dylan Stewart has a chance to be pretty good. I've heard some people say Myles Garrett good, coming out of Texas A&M. That was probably the best edge rusher over the last 10 years coming out of college. I've heard people put him in that conversation, but I don't want to call them character concerns, but I'll say like motor stuff. You could just kind of see Dylan Stewart fade out of the game sometimes and check out, but we'll keep this about our guy Blake Miller, number 78, playing right tackle for Clemson. First round expectation. Like I said, there's a couple first round receivers on Clemson for the 2027 draft, Wesco and TJ Moore, but it's going to be kind of hard to watch them if we're going with this angle here. Klubnik also in this draft, Adam Randall, the running back. Receiver turned running back. Definitely talent all over the field. A lot of defensive backs for South Carolina. You guys have any other good draft channels that you watch? Be curious to hear who else you guys watch, so you can take a look at them. There's the one guy, Best Available, does pretty good stuff. I'll say this about Best Available, if you guys know that guy. He's quality over quantity. You're not gonna get that much out of him, but he puts effort into what he makes. That's my start doing scouting evaluations on YouTubers. Definitely a quality guy, which is a compliment. Daft on Draft. Now that's a quantity and quality guy. If you guys know him, there's two of them though. I think that guy pumps out stuff on YouTube. He does a lot of summer stuff also, which I give him credit for. One thing I don't like about Daft on Draft though is he does a lot of this, like what we're doing right now, which is fine for a live, but I don't think it makes for a good YouTube video where you're watching the guy for the first time. Like, yeah, I feel you, Big Boom. College football, got to go with the Rock Boys football, man. Those guys, that guy kicks a lot of ass. Dude, I wish I had their amount of energy because we'd be talking about undrafted free agents right now if I had Rock Boy football energy. I don't know how the fuck they. Dude, you'll see them have like these takes on like Penn State's like running back room, or that's not a good example, but they do a lot of recruiting stuff, which I don't know if I'm gonna do this summer. I'm definitely gonna do it at to some point, but I don't know how much. Yeah, I love Rock Boys. My major issue with them is like they're kind of too positive, I think. Maybe I haven't watched them enough, but I just kind of think they pander to each fan base. Which like when I do my USC videos in the off season, like I'll give you my 2 cents. Like I like Deshaun Rideau because I like Deshaun Rideau, not because I'm trying to get USC fans hyped about him. Maybe I do it, it's just subconsciously. I don't know, but nah, they do get a lot of good stuff though. Dude, college football is tough because there's so many damn schools. Like NFL's easy when you think about it because there's only 32 teams. Like, and the rosters are also so big in college. Yeah, there is a lot of channels that just do like USC or whatever. Honestly, that's probably like the smarter way to go about things. I just don't have any team that I want to talk about that much. Like one team. But yeah, like just doing NFL or college content's kind of difficult because like draft's easy because you know exactly who's watching your stuff. Like it's mostly people that are NFL fans that are trying to, try to see who their team's gonna pick. Or it's like it's very little is like, a Big Boom since you're a USC fan. Like sometimes USC fans like want to see what people think about Jacoby Lane or whoever, or see who draft people think about those guys. But that's kind of the smaller portion. With like college stuff, like It's literally just, if you do a USC video, it's literally just USC fans, which is like just a smaller niche. We don't have to talk about that, but no, I love the whole concept of college recruiting though, because like you see the message boards, man. There's like 40-year-olds sweating over like a 16-year-old kid's college decision. Like it actually affects their life. Yeah, so just talking about Blake Miller real quick, I think he's a really good athlete. He's got a really good first step. I've been picking out plays so we can come back and like watch all the big ones. I don't know if he got called with a holding on this. No, it was a PI. Not on him. Like you see, like because he gets out so fast, he can just be so patient to keep himself in a good position. I think there's a lot of guys that have like the lateral agility, and that's not the issue. It's just they're kind of slow coming out of their stance, and they just get themselves in a bad position. And the good defensive ends can take advantage of it. You just see how fast he's already out. And like you take a look at the left tackle, for example, number 71, he's just starting to get into his pass set. Like he's just coming out of his stance. Um, we've already seen Blake Miller's already like in his pass set, and he can just be real patient and in a good possession and protect both shoulders. Wimrick asked like how I got started. Well, I started my YouTube channel in 2020, and it was just NFL stuff back then. It wasn't even NFL actually. It was like it's just like all sports, like just for fun. And I worked in a personnel office while I was in college for 2 years, so it was a lot of like high school film, like watching high school kids. But I still followed the draft. I didn't really use the YouTube channel while I was there. And I've coached high school like freshmen. I don't really count that as experience, but you learn a lot about the game like at the very basic levels, I think. Like I'll tell you what, like talking about the actual draft, like the players isn't a difficult thing. Like I think learning an actual like what that kid Film Watchers does, like that seems difficult to me, like to just really understand like the schemes. I think I have a pretty like basic understanding. But I think the more if you just watch enough football and you just think about it, I think anybody can do like evaluations. And it's like also we're not exactly we're not doing thermonuclear fission here or something. I don't even know if that's a thing, but it's just football at the end of the day. Like, yeah, that's a tough question because this is what I'll always tell somebody that asks me like the best way to learn about football. It's not on YouTube. It's like actually coaching. Like, if you spend like this is kind of a lie, but I think it kind of illustrates the point. I think 5 minutes on the football field's like worth like 5 years, like just trying to learn on YouTube and stuff. And I know it's like not realistic because it's like one of the worst gigs like time wise and how much you get paid. Like everybody talks about how much college coaches get paid being ridiculous. Well, if you're coaching high school, man, you get pennies on the dollar of like the amount of work you actually put in. Um, I'd say just like I'm not trying to downplay YouTube. I just think there's like a lot of BS out there. I would try to watch like former coaches. Like like whenever I can find like Alex Mirabel talk about offensive line on YouTube, Miami offensive line coach. But it's tough. Like it's definitely difficult. But yeah, I mean, even if you just volunteer for like your local high school team's freshman team, I think you learn a lot more that way than you would on YouTube. I'd say that'll like you can't. I'm not saying you're gonna understand like be able to break down an NFL team scheme because you coach freshmen, but it'll give you a good foundation, I think. But I'll say this: like, if you like football and you're ever in a position where you can coach for like a year, I couldn't recommend it more. Like, if you have the time, it's difficult. You know, it's tough to swing because they practice from 3 to 5, and it's like you can't get a 9 to 5 job doing that. You can't work after. It's difficult. It's tough. Um, fuck. Now I'm pissed because there's a really good YouTuber, a guy that's like a high school coach that I'll give you the exact guy that I would watch, that I do watch. What the hell is his name? Just give me 2 seconds. I feel my bad. Because this guy's actually worth watching. Like, no offense, like to myself, I'm not sure how much you can actually learn from watching my kind of videos, but what the fuck is this guy's name? I see his face right now. It's just Coach Mac on at Coach Mac. He's got about 30,000 subscribers on YouTube. I wouldn't watch his shorts, like, but he's got really good videos. It's kind of tough about like picking which one, but I'd say that guy's a pretty good resource. It's Coach Mac on Twitter, on YouTube. You know, it's high school level stuff. Like, there's a lot of things that don't that don't happen at the high school level because it's a lower level of competition, obviously. But you can definitely learn a lot that way, I think. Yeah, I was thinking about some way. So, like, obviously, I take the website pretty serious, we-draft.com. I know I plug it in every single um, video. I was thinking about some way of just kind of collecting that kind of information and put it in one place. Because there's like a lot of paid subscriptions out there, but I think they're all scams. I don't know what the end goal of my channel is. It's a good question that I probably should ask myself more. Bro, I don't know. Like, it's the only thing I really like doing. I don't know if I could work a real 9 to 5, but I'm still in grad school, so I might have to at some point. But you know, I don't just like watching football. Like, I think having the website and adding stuff to that and trying to come up with new ideas for that, I like that just as much as actually watching the football games. But I don't know. I might go work for a fantasy app or some shit. So Wimrick, back to your point with Blake Miller in the stance. Man, he's a great athlete. He gets out of the gate so fast. He can keep himself in a good position. I want to see more out of him as a run blocker because I don't think we've seen that much. Like, he looks like he's getting low right there, but I don't know how he bends at the knees. I think he's going to struggle to kind of stay low and get guys off of the line of scrimmage. Yeah, when we're gonna be doing stuff this off season for it, and it's also like college football. Just got to try to find a way to keep people on the website. You know, I don't want to kill people with ads because, like, I'll go off on a tangent right here, but you guys might think it's interesting. There's like a couple ways to make money off of websites, right? Like, the biggest one is obviously the ads, which drive me crazy because there's some websites that I think are awesome and they're just not usable because of how many ads are on them. And I also don't think a lot of them take that much care to kind of design it in a good way. The other way is, paid subscriptions, which I don't really like doing because, if I was a startup and I had like a bunch of like money, if I had money to invest in marketing, then I totally would put stuff behind a paywall. But it's like that guy Daft on Draft does it, and I don't know how much he makes, so don't quote me. But when you do that, it's just kind of hard to grow your channel. Like, at least me, like, if I put stuff behind a paywall, like, I'm putting all this effort in for stuff that people aren't watching. Like, I'd rather have everything be out there and then just kind of grow that way. So I have to figure out a way to make money off of the website, and I don't want it to just be like pure ads. So there's a couple ways I could go about that. And I don't want to put it behind a paywall. I forget if I said that. So I really need to find like a sponsor. Like, I don't know if you guys saw that post, but I got accepted into the Homage creator program, which is just basically like if you click a link and buy some of their stuff, I get 10% off of that. They got good stuff though. Like, I'm not even saying that. Like, if you guys would have watched the one where I did Mitchell and Ness, dude, their stuff was just crap, and it's from Fanatics. Like, I didn't want to promote that, but I actually feel good about the quality of the Homage stuff. Man, Blake Miller is just friggin'. Let's look at him compared to 71. I know we keep doing it. Like, you see how difficult that makes things for a defensive end when you got a guy like already ready and 71's just getting into a stance there. I also kind of hate the way sports are going in America. With I'm not like, don't take this the wrong way if you guys gamble, because I actually don't have anything wrong with it. But I just think these media companies are starting to pour way too much money. I understand why they do it, man. It's such a lucrative business, but if you kind of just would be able to look at the kind of stuff ESPN was putting out a couple years ago, or I'll say like 10 years ago before sports betting was legal, versus what they do now, dude, it is all like slop. It is just like content to get people to go drop their whole paycheck on their book, which, like, also, by the way, is a conflict of interest. Like, another thing, like, you guys really got to be. I don't gamble because the team that I worked at, I wasn't like allowed to. If you work for a college team, you're not allowed to bet on any sports. Like, that are played at the college level. So I think technically I would have been allowed to bet on boxing, but like I couldn't even bet on NFL. Like now that's only if they catch you, but um we're gonna watch Blake Miller's worst game against Syracuse. We're gonna watch him against Louisville actually because they got Clev Lubin, who's a 2027 edge rusher. I want to get 2 games done for Blake Miller. But you guys keep reaching out. We're having fun talking just about whatever. Yeah, this is what I'll tell you about gambling. If you guys do it, just be careful in who you get information from and make sure that you understand that a lot of the people that work for ESPN or Bleacher Report, that those places also have their own sports books. And please consider that they want you to be wrong more than you are right. So there's a lot of shady shit out there. And it's also such a new industry. Like, I think in 10 years it'll be a lot more calm. Because there'll be a lot more case law and everything after it's been around. We got an arm length number on Blake Miller. That's what I want to check after that. I didn't even... $34.25. God damn. That's Clev Lubin, by the way. Lubin. I don't know how to say his last name, but that's a 2027 edge rusher that just had that sack. We're getting Blake Miller against 2 pretty good pass rushers. We saw him against Dylan Stewart before. Heard a lot of good things about this guy also. I think he was eligible in this draft and he went back to Louisville. Don't quote me on that, please, but yeah, anyway, going back to the point, it's just like the sports gambling industry's just changed a lot of things in media, I think. Just need you guys to keep your head on a swivel. Like the real messed up part of it is if you start paying attention to like the stuff that they gear to little kids, the sports stuff, if you go on some of these websites, I saw a whole section about this. I forget where. They're like literally trying to brainwash these little kids into picking. Like they'll do it like when they're 12 or whatever. Just say like you make an ESPN account and you get points if you pick Justin Jefferson over under yards. They don't call it over under, but they're basically like trying to get these kids to gamble, and it's not for money. You know, they're not, but they're trying to brainwash them and they're trying to like get them ready to become degenerates when they're 18 or 21 and drop their whole paycheck on an NFL parlay. I have nothing against it if you do it. Like, spend your money how you want, but they start trying to get to these little kids, like, it's kind of problematic. Yeah, well, Wemerick, here's the thing is, you don't have to be smart to gamble on sports. That's the whole appeal. And you don't have to have money to do it either. It's just ask the people, some people that do that. Yeah, if sports gamblers were smart, the industry wouldn't exist because the house wouldn't be making money. So, and I'm not against it. Like I'm gonna keep saying that. Like spend your money how you want, but they try to prey on people. I just think money tends to corrupt. I'm not a communist. Don't write that down. But anyways, like the real point I'm trying to make, I think there's other ways to make money out of sports than gambling. Like that's why I wouldn't really, for my stuff, for example, like you guys watch a lot of other channels. There's like a lot of like gambling links. Like gambling codes. Like get $20 free play if you click this code. Like that's one way to make money off of it as like a creator, quote unquote. Yo, if I ever do that, guys, please check on me. Ask me for a mental wellness because I'd be down pretty bad. Fantasy's different. I think fantasy's fine as long as it's fantasy and not gambling. Yeah, big boom. I totally agree with you. Like, I'll put it this way. Just say I had a group of five friends in college or whatever, and four of us like didn't bet on sports, and we could just watch like a Notre Dame Clemson game or whoever the hell was playing Clemson Louisville and like just enjoy it. If you don't have any skin in the game, it's a lot of fun to watch college football and just like root for a good game. But then like you had the fifth friend that would like just couldn't help himself and he put money on it and he's just like not fun to be around. It's not fun to watch the game with because he actually like has money invested in it. I don't know. It's an addiction like any other addiction, and I'll tell you, caffeine's got me pretty bad right now. So I don't know if I'm in a position to talk about sports gambling because I need a lot of caffeine to make it through the day. Man, I'll tell you about Adam Randall. Like, I think there's a lot of moments on his film where you could tell that he didn't play running back for 4 seasons at Clemson, but I say right there, that looks like he's been playing for a while. It was a nice run by him. Dude, I know that Clemson, this is like a cup block, and they're telling Blake Miller to, get at his legs here. Just watch him, man. Like, it just looks so goofy. It's not a negative. I'm not holding that against him. Not, stricken from the record, but you see some funny shit when you're watching football. Yeah, Blake, he's a lock to go in the first round, I think. I think he's kind of behind as a run blocker right now, but I mean, look at that. Well, first round tackles, let's just go through the list right now. Maui Noah, lock. Fano's a lock, but I have a feeling that he's not a tackle in the NFL. It's just not long enough. Maui Noah, lock. We'll count Fano, though, for argument's sake. Fano, lock. I'd say Blake Miller. I haven't seen anybody talking about him going any later, so probably a lock. Ian Notcher. I'd say he's swing. Like, I say probably first round, but I don't think it would be that crazy if he didn't. Who are we missing? Just talking about offensive lineman Owane from Penn State's first round lock. I have my whole board up there, but it's too dark. Monroe Freeling. Yeah, Freeling. Good call. I don't know if he's a lock, man. He probably is. Proctor is, yeah. Proctor's a guy I have a bad feeling about. But I hold my breath. Or I hold my tongue. I'll say this. I actually don't think he's a bad prospect, but I think the way people talk about him, I think people are kind of getting too far ahead of themselves. Maui knows as good as advertised. We talking about Brian Parker in the first round? I haven't seen him, the Duke interior offensive lineman. About first round quarterbacks. Why don't we go through the whole list right here? Mendoza's, I think, the only lock. I don't know if I'd say Ty Simpson's a lock to go in the first round. And then Carson Beck's obviously a lock. Of course, I'm joking, but now how about this? Are there any other quarterbacks that have a chance to go in the first round outside of Mendoza and Ty Simpson? I don't think so. I really don't. Aller, I'd say, has a chance. I'd be pretty shocked if he did, but In my head, those are the three guys with a real chance. But I agree. I think Simpson will. I think Mendoza and Simpson will. I'd say Mendoza's like the only surefire lock though. I mean, like they were talking about Will Levis like he was a lock to go in the first round, right? Quarterback, you never know. Like I think with a guy that's on the fringe, now running back, that's a good question because Jeremiah Love's the only guy that's like consistently getting mocked in the first round. There's been a lot of Jadarian Price at 32 I've seen. That's not happening. I don't think that's happening. I'll eat my words if it happens. But I'd be pretty surprised to see Price in the first round, man. You got to be a really good running back to go in the first round. I just don't think I don't think he's that level of talent. Emmett Johnson's like my wild card. I don't think that's that crazy. I think I've seen people mock him in the first round before. I think he's a guy that has a chance, so not necessarily to the Seahawks, but the Nebraska running back Emmett Johnson. Besides that, I'm trying to think if I'm missing anyone. I like Blake Miller though. You know, great pass protector. Might have some issues with his hands, but that's fixable. Upper body issues are a lot better than lower body issues. I'll stand by that. Like better to deal with. Man, people are thinking Price is going in the first round. Like that's see that mocked, I feel like a lot, but I agree. I don't think it happens. I want to take a look at my board real quick because I've kept changing it. Wimmerk, he said he never been on WeDraft. Well, this is kind of the pitch here. Is I'll pull up my whiteboard here. So in the first round, I have Fernando Mendoza and Ty Simpson, Drew Aller in the third round, Nussmeier, Cole Payton in the fourth round, Taylor Green in the fifth round, Kyle McManus in the sixth round. I don't feel good enough about any of these other guys to really give them a grade. Because I haven't watched them, that's why. Like Beck, I'd be pretty shocked to see Beck before the fourth round. Before the fifth round, I'll say, would surprise me. Yeah, running backs. Jeremiah Love's the only guy I have a first round grade on. I do think you could see Mike Washington at 32 to the Seahawks. I think that would be a pretty crazy pick, but I wouldn't be that shocked. Oh, holy shit. That's true. You guys can't really see the quarterbacks here, but you got basically. Just gotta expand that. Yeah, I kind of edited this the other day, so this is kind of how I feel about everybody. Oh yeah, Pregnon's a good call. I could see him in the first round also. I want to pull up. We can try to do this again. We didn't have a good audience for this yesterday. Nobody was doing it. I can't do this mock draft by myself. I'm going to need you guys' help. But I think we're going to have a pretty chalk top five. Like, I'll start getting surprised if we see. Where the fuck? I can't tell if you guys can actually see that on the screen or not, but this is how I have the top five going. Mendoza first, Bailey second, Arvell Reese third, Jeremiah Love fourth, Sonny Styles fifth. I think Carnell Tate's the pick at six. That's what I've seen a lot of people mocking, and I like it because it's the Ohio State Cleveland connection. I'm going to go with Carnell Tate at 6. Washington, I have no idea. You guys are going to have to tell me. Quarterback at 6, no. Running back, no. Wide receiver, probably not. Tight end, no. Offensive line, you guys tell me. What do we think? O-line at 6 or 7? Defensive line, are we going linebackers? Are we going cornerbacks? We got Bailey going second. I don't know. I don't even know who's getting mocked here. I'll go Maui no. If you guys think that's stupid, I can change it later. Downs at 8. I think I've seen, I don't know what the fuck I've seen at 9 for the Chiefs. That's where I'm sitting right now. I'm going to end this live stream. Getting a little tired. Going to have to power through tomorrow, so I can't really extend myself right now. I appreciate you guys for watching. You guys have a good rest of your night. We'll be on this entire weekend, but you know, I know a lot of you guys rather watch on TV. I don't blame you. But if you guys want to stop by, I'd really appreciate it. We'll be on the entire weekend. Me and my friend's going to come on, so it'll be fun to watch.